So most of this we've already seen. So just some pictures to go with it. So the first one is deforestation, which we've already talked about, okay? Puts excess CO2 into the atmosphere and also takes away homes for animals. Next is acid rain, okay? So we said what two things mix to make acid rain? Yep, so pollutants and rain. And then they can contaminate lakes, rivers, streams, ponds, okay? And they can kill life. The introduction of non-native species, so invasive species, comes in, takes over, has no predators, okay? Sometimes it is done intentionally, but most times it is not done intentionally. We've mentioned this as well. So humans have reshaped ecosystems, but through coordinated research-backed efforts so that we can make a positive impact on the environment. So remember, we're talking ecosystems and economics, okay? The ozone layer. So this is what protects us from harmful UV rays. Things like CFCs put holes in the ozone layer. So it can lead to things like sunburn, cancer. It can also damage our eyes. So here's a picture, shows us ozone depletion and how it has changed over time. So like I've already said earlier, CFCs are what destroy the ozone layer. So not only can we find them in aerosol cans, but we can find them as coolants in refrigerators and air conditioners. So back in 1987, 46 countries had agreed to ban most chlorofluorocarbons by the year 2000. So as you've seen on the previous slides, the ozone layer is now showing signs of recovery. It obviously does not happen overnight and takes years to recover. So solving large-scale ecological problems is possible with the coordinated efforts of many nations to protect the earth. Because if you look up here how it says 46 countries, so we all have to work together to make things like this happen. Then this takes us into climate change. So climate is the average pattern of weather over a long period of time, because weather happens what? Day by day, right? And then climate, yes, okay, over time. So climates around the world are changing because of the greenhouse effect. Does anybody know what the greenhouse effect is? Because you should have learned this in earth science. Yes. Yep. So greenhouse, which holds what? Plants, right? So the infrared rays come in, and they get trapped, and they bounce around, and they do what? They heat it up, right? So that same thing happens in the atmosphere with what? Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, okay? So the same thing is in turn happening to the atmosphere. So just like the glass in a greenhouse, the atmosphere is what traps the heat. So CO2 is a big greenhouse gas, and this is typically the one that you would hear. So this specific greenhouse gas, okay, bounces around in the atmosphere, and that is, it prevents the heat from escaping, just essentially as the greenhouse. So the reason that climate change is considered a bad thing is because it can kill species such as the polar bear, because what happens? Okay, so that's where they live. That's the environment that they live in. That's what they call home. And so if the atmosphere is overheated, it does what? Melts the ice caps, right? And then it means that there's also less food available for humans to eat and less good water to drink. Because another thing that occurs due to this is the sea levels rising. And you would have talked about that in earth science as well. And then last, same that we talked about earlier, make sure that we understand what biodiversity is, okay? Different kinds of life, and that human actions can cause loss of biodiversity.